First time in a long time, but back like I never left. Taking each day as it comes, you know me, I don't read ahead. Watch me burn down everything, BDE on the TV set. When I'm in control on the road, you can never really know what's up next.
Hello. Davie Portman here from upNXT, postwrestling.com, Stitcher, Google Play, Podcast Addict, iTunes, wherever you find your podcasts. We are here with you, and you found us. Thank you for coming. This is take 2 on upNXT 2.0 tonight. A few technical difficulties because I am running everything tonight as Braden, unfortunately, is in Mexico having a terrible time, I'm sure, sat by the pool, sipping frozen margaritas, while the rest of us peasants are just here living our lives with COVID, Omicron, all of that in our lives. But let's not be too down, folks. It is the holiday season. Christmas is just around the corner. Everyone's having a good time, I hope, and I'm having a good time tonight because I'm not on my own. I am joined by a good friend of mine, a Mr. Jesse from the Six. Jesse, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Davie. Thank you for inviting me on. It's a great honor. Everyone's wondering what gift he's got the Young Bucks, and turns out that you have stolen his thunder because you have given the gift of me to the good upNXT listeners.
Absolutely, everybody. You are our secret Santa this year. Our first gift, day 21 on our advent calendar. We get a Jesse from the Six, and it's been a while since we've had you on one of our shows. I know we had you on that epic Wrestle Kingdom we did a couple of years ago, where we did the all-nighter of doing both shows back to back, and thought it'd be a great idea to go for a few drinks in between shows, get ramen, drink sake, and then record after 10 hours of wrestling and drinking at about 6 a.m. Looking back, I don't know if I'll be doing that again this year. Certainly, I think that Noah show might give it a miss. But yeah, when did we last have you on one of these? Was that the last show we did together?
No, I was on for a few Dynamite reviews last summer because we were in your back patio.
Oh, yeah.
So I was doing a couple of those, and I think I did a short reaction pod with Scorpio Sam and Braden for All Out, because you weren't there, because obviously you were at the show. I think Braden wanted to do like a quick 15-minute reaction pod, so I was on that. But yeah, I've my dates have been limited in the past couple of years.
That's right. Yeah, so it's been a while since we've talked to each other. Obviously, we live in the same city. We try and keep in touch as best we can. Things are kind of amping up a little bit in regards to COVID over here. I got to say, I haven't had the best of days, to be honest. Those of you that listen know I work in a bar, and Doug Ford, the mayor? No, not the mayor.
Our esteemed premier, the premier of Ontario.
The premier of Ontario has added some new restrictions, which means now 50% capacity at like bars, restaurants, cinemas, all venues, that kind of thing. But also a curfew of 10 p.m., which kind of sucks when you work in a bar, because I personally make most of my money between the hours of 10 and 2 a.m. And I personally can't really see the logic behind it. From experience, I know most people that I'm serving, I hear say, "Oh, you're closing now. Let's all go back to my place," which seems maybe not the most sensible thing to do during these times, when you could just maybe keep them in an establishment where you know everyone's vaccinated and etc. So I can't say I'm best pleased, especially around this time where Christmas, New Year is where we make our money, and we're going to be closing at 10 p.m. on New Year's Eve. So I've kind of been dealing with that a lot and trying to work out how I'm going to get through this time, because January and February sucks anyway in this industry. So morale is down for sure. And I know a lot of friends, this Omicron variant is kind of picking up. I've had a couple of scares this week. A few co-workers have tested positive. I've had 3 tests personally this week. All have come back negative. But it's getting a little frustrating with this thing, because we thought we were kind of out of the woods with this, or maybe not out of the woods, but getting towards the clearing, getting towards the end. And all of this, it's kind of, it feels like history is repeating itself a bit. So I don't know, expect a load more random watch-alongs on Twitch at the weirdest hours, possibly in the next few months. I know this time last year was when we really amped up the Twitch thing because of COVID, and expect maybe a lot more of that moving forwards. But that's my little rant to start with, and I kind of want to get it off my chest, because I can't say I've been too happy the last day, and I know a lot of my friends who are in the industry are feeling the same, and I'm sure amongst other industries as well are really, really feeling it as well. But I will say, to kick things off, this is an NXT podcast, and as you know, we used to go head to head with AEW on a Wednesday. It was the Wednesday Night Wars, NXT versus AEW, and it was Up Next versus Rewind a Dynamite. And we thought those days were behind us, but it seems it's not, because I know right now, going on Zoom, competing with Up Next is the Post Wrestling crew with their Spider-Man review. And I will say I am very happy I managed to get in to see this film before all these restrictions kicked in. And I'm not going to do any spoilers here, because I know that's all happening on the other channel. And I know Braden and I will be talking about that. But Jesse, I just wanted to check with you, because this is a big thing, and there seems to be a big crossover with kind of wrestling fans and these comic book movies. Have you had a chance to see it? Are you interested in seeing it? I haven't really talked to you about Marvel before, but where are you with that?
No, I haven't seen it. I'll probably watch it when it comes to Disney Plus. I'm not in a rush. I watch most of the Marvel films, and I've watched all their Disney Plus shows. But I probably wouldn't watch this stuff if not for Way and John and WH. They and the free time foisted upon me by the pandemic, and coming back from Taiwan, being in quarantine for 2 weeks. That's really what got me into the MCU over the past couple of years. So, I mean, I have an interest, but it's not, the most important thing to me.
Yeah, that's completely fair enough. I will say I fucking loved the movie, and I cried twice, and I'm not afraid to say that. I cried today as well because of all these new restrictions and everything else going on. But I really did love this movie. I definitely want to see it again. And it was one of the times where I know a lot of people were moving towards just staying at home and watching stuff on streaming and saying never going to a movie theater again and stuff like that. For me, I think that's a shame. I think there's a real, I come from a theater background. I grew up performing and doing shows and being in front of a live audience. And even though this is something filmed on a screen where the actors and the performers can't feel your reaction, to have that kind of energy for an opening night for a big movie like this that is anticipated and people are excited about seeing, and hearing people cheer and gasp and scream and cry and all that is what art is all about to me. And we've lived through a whole year of these empty arena wrestling shows, and our excitement for New Japan and things like that are low because of the weird atmosphere of the crowds. And I got to say, from my point of view, being in a theater, watching this new Spider-Man movie in a packed theater, which I know some people are going to be uncomfortable with, but it was fucking awesome, and I miss that, and I haven't had that experience for so long, and that was definitely something I took away from that. but I'll definitely be talking about it more a bit later on with Braden once he's back from Mexico. But we are here to talk about NXT 2.0, and I invited you on the show. I actually bumped into you randomly on Bloor Street the other day, which was when I asked you to do this show. You were having your cheat day. Am I correct?
Oh, you're going to expose my shame, are you? Yes. I was having a cheat meal of, I went to a Japanese restaurant that I like and I used to go to a lot in my youth, and I don't go to now because I don't eat a lot of meat or seafood for environmental reasons, but I'm not perfect. And sometimes I do succumb to temptation. And so, yes, perhaps somewhat irresponsibly, I wanted to go to this restaurant because I felt that coming lockdown measures might prevent me from going there in the coming months. So I decided I'm just going to go. And I know this place, they have barriers in between the tables, which a lot of restaurants don't have. So I felt a little bit more comfortable there. And I had chicken teriyaki, bento box. It was delicious. And all the better I got to bump into you. We went to BMV and we said hi to Mike Murray. WH wasn't working, but we got to say hi to Mike. And yeah, that was a nice day.
Yeah, WH was too busy recording on his comic book movie show, calling other people nerds whilst handing out comic book recommendations, I think, that day. But
WH came out strong against the LARPing community. I did not expect that. WH is a firmly anti-LARPer. So, okay.
But yeah, I asked you on this show, and I know you used to be a really big NXT fan. You've come over before. You've watched NXT around my place before. We've watched takeovers together and that kind of thing. Where have you been with NXT 2.0 so far?
So I watched the first NXT 2.0 episode. I watched Halloween Havoc, and I watched this episode. So those, and I watched some of War Games.
Okay.
I guess that was not a takeover, but whatever War Games was, I watched not all of it, but I watched 3 matches, 3 good ones.
Right. So I would assume you're someone who's kind of fallen off. You're one of these many people that have kind of fallen off during this NXT time. So I assume you're taking the role of Braden tonight. I'm guessing.
Well, maybe I guess I'll save my thoughts overall for the end. But yeah, I saw that first episode. I didn't really have time for it. I don't like the way Vince McMahon and his team portray professional wrestling. And now that we have a viable alternative in AEW, I don't see a lot of value in not just NXT, but frankly all of WWE. It's not, the odd thing comes out and will resonate with me. Like I haven't done your poll yet, but my favorite match of the year I will probably vote for an NXT UK match as my favorite. So greatness can still happen, but as an overall presentation, it's not something that I usually look back at the 2 hours I've spent and say, yeah, that was time well spent. I don't really feel that way. So I haven't, but I've been listening to you and Braden, and I've been hearing how awful NXT 2.0 it has been, and also some of the bright spots. So I think it's good to, even when I'm not coming on for reviews, I think I'll watch New Year's. Like they've got me for New Year's Evil. I'll say that for now. I am going to watch New Year's Evil. So,
all right.
That's a success.
Yeah. Well, that's a nice kind of setup for us because we are coming to the end of the year and we've got a lot of big shows coming up towards the end of the year. One of which being our best match ever 2021. And we've compiled a list, which you can find both on the upNXT Facebook group, which anyone can vote on, and the upNXT Patreon, which you can join for as little as $2.05 a month. $5 gets you pretty much everything. $2, we throw you some shows here and there. There's plenty to sample from the back catalog. But yeah, we are doing our best match of the year, 2021. We've got a list. It was originally 25 matches, but people were yelling at me for forgetting Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa in an unsanctioned match. And maybe that's why I forgot it, because if it's unsanctioned, did it really happen?
No, it wasn't a real match.
It wasn't a real match. But so we've got 26 matches on there to choose from. You can send me in your top 10 and we'll be compiling our list and breaking down in 2 parts the best match of the year. So please, you've got about a week or so to get your votes in. If you're locked down over this Christmas time, a perfect excuse if you're fed up of all the Hallmark movies and all that to go back and watch some of your G1 matches, watch your Ilias versus Walters, give a good rewatch and let us know what you think the best matches of the year are. But no matter how much people are shouting at me, I'm not including Nick Gage versus Matt Cardona. So fuck off if you're one of those people. The list is sorted. But yes, that's all to come up. But we have some other shows coming up this week on the Patreon. Kicking things off on Thursday, we have our much anticipated review of Home Alone, the classic Christmas movie about a kid that gets abandoned by his parents at Christmas and then hatches attempted murder against a team of robbers. It's one of the greatest Christmas films of all time, and we've brought it in probably the greatest wrestling podcaster of all time to talk about this movie. Yes, we are joined by John Pollock on this one. Braden and I have already recorded this. It's a hell of a lot of fun, and that's coming up on the Patreon this Thursday. And then to round things up on Boxing Day, we're giving you a special episode of Was Next, talking all about the July 3rd, 2013 edition of NXT, where we have Antonio Cesaro challenging Bo Dallas for the NXT Championship. But that's not all. You can get those shows for $5, including about 400 more in our back catalogue. But it is Christmas, and we like giving presents as well. So as always, Wednesday night, we talk all about AEW Dynamite in BD Elite on this very feed and on Twitch, twitch.tv/upnext podcast. Hello, Twitch room. Haven't said hello to you yet. That'll be tomorrow night at 10:15. But I will also be teaming up with John Siino this Thursday to take on Kate from Montreal and Andrew Thompson, Andy Ogden, and Benno in the big, fat wrestling quiz of the year. And that's going to be available on, I believe, the British Wrestling Experience feed. Test your trivia. You know I like trivia. I do the games. We've got the Rumble coming up next month. But yeah, Siino and I are going to try and be the greatest trivia minds, having all the greatest wrestling knowledge of 2021. Martin Bushby's putting all of this together. I think it's going to be fantastic. And I think I've got a bit of a secret weapon here with John Siino, because I don't know if you've heard, guys, but he watches everything and has a pretty good memory. And if you want to test that out, how much he actually watches, we have Shot in the Dark every Wednesday on this feed, where Siino will run down all the shows that you might not have time to watch, but you kind of might want to know what's happening. He's covering, used to cover Ring of Honor, not so much anymore, but Impact Wrestling, AEW Dark, Elevation, 205 Live, NXT UK, and packs it all in a nice gift-wrapped 15 minutes just for you. So check that show out as well. And then Christmas Day, to kind of round things off, we have our special Christmas Behind the BDE. Braden and I have already recorded this one. We have a show that we normally give to our world champion patrons for $25 a month, where we have no plan. We just go in there, put the microphone on and talk and let things roll. And we're doing a special free one for you guys for Christmas Day this year. So make sure you check out all that. So many shows, as always, for you to check out. And what a year it's been, 2021. We're almost out of it. 2022 doesn't sound too much better, to be honest. I'm kind of nervous, but we'll see how things go. I'm definitely not doing the Cody Rhodes. 2022 is going to be lit. But yes, all fun podcasts for you to look forward to over this Christmas period when you're fed up of your family or everyone else have fallen asleep after too much turkey. You can always listen to us because we will be your NXT friends.
Friends.
Sure. Okay. A bit out of practice there, but we'll get there. But that's it for all the plugs and all that. I think it's time to get into a bit of NXT 2.0. So NXT, December 21st, from the Capitol Wrestling Center. No One Will Survive. Tommaso Ciampa, the NXT champion, comes out and he gets on the mic and says, as champion, you are the hunted and everyone has their eyes on you. But I'm a bit different than every other man who has held this title as I do the hunting. Last week, Bron Breakker, I did the hunting. And now I know what's going to happen. The music's going to hit. You're going to come out. You're going to interrupt me and confront you. But you don't need to do that this week because I'm inviting you. And out comes Bron Breakker. He ushers to get a microphone, but Ciampa says, you don't need a mic because I know what you're thinking. I know what you're going to say. You're going to say that at War Games, you made a statement. You speared me through a table in the corner of the ring. Then you pressed the champ up and Spike drove me to the canvas and pinned my shoulders to the mat. You don't want a shot at the title. You earned a shot at this title. You didn't earn it at any show. You earned it at a big show, New Year's Evil on January the 4th. And that's what you're thinking, right? And I agree. You deserve this. But let's hope you don't drown like you did the first time. In 2 weeks, you're going to get your second opportunity. Aren't you special? And at Halloween Havoc, I exposed you at your experience, but not just your experience in the ring, but your experience at life. And there's no replacement for experience or time. Everyone knows you have the tools, intensity and strength, but you're not ready to be a champion at my NXT. I'm talking about guys like Sami Zayn, KO, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Finn Balor. Guys like Tommaso Ciampa, guys who spent a decade before coming here and then another decade here. What have you had? 10 to 20 matches? Bron, I don't mean to be disrespectful. You're doing great, but I don't know if you're ready for the attention, the bright lights, the responsibility. At Halloween Havoc, you made one mistake, a slip off the ropes that cost you. And you're thinking January 4th, you'll take the title home to dad and the family and put the title on the mantelpiece and everyone will bark and cheer for you. Then reality hits and Ciampa slaps him across the face and says, that reality is me. And Bron, taking none of this, picks up Ciampa in the military press. Ciampa is kind of struggling and squealing and Bron puts him down and says, New Year's Evil, there's blood in the water and I'm the shark. See you in 2 weeks, champ. Jesse, you did watch the match at Halloween Havoc and you said you caught the War Games match. What is your kind of opinion on Bron Breakker being so far and Ciampa's second run as NXT champ?
Well, with Bron, it's easy to see what they see in him. Clearly, it makes sense to push this guy. It makes sense to have an eye on him as a potential top performer in the future. And I think Ciampa is a great choice as champion for what they're trying to do in NXT 2.0. Sort of, I guess this is a transitional phase. Actually, let me ask you a question. Because if you and Braden have mentioned this, I missed it. And like I said, I haven't been watching week to week. But how did you feel about Ciampa here and his character work? Because he was acting heelish to my mind. He was kind of squealing when he was up in the press, and it was also a little bit weird. He kept repeating himself, not like as though he was forgetting things, but repeating them as a stylistic choice. He would repeat phrases over and over again, and it struck me as odd.
I kind of think they're actually doing quite a good job here, because going into War Games, it was definitely 2.0 were the heels in that feud. The first Ciampa Bron match, no one wanted to see Bron win that one. I think this time round, I think we are kind of ready. I think we see the writings on the wall and see that Bron is probably going to be the next champion. You had the segment last week with Bron kicking Grayson Waller out of the locker room for being a dick. So I think they've actually done it kind of well, where Ciampa can. I'm pretty sure Bron is going to win this match at New Year's Evil and be the new champion. And I think they've set it up in a way where I don't think the fans are going to shit on it now. So I think this time Bron coming in as maybe slightly leaning a bit more babyface and Ciampa leaning a bit more heel, in this case, does actually work for me. And I think Ciampa is I think he's a great choice to be champion at this point. I'm still unsure what the whole thing is with Joe, but I can still see Joe working in this role if the so-called injury didn't happen, because I think they're both good talkers, and I think Ciampa can elevate any feud he's in by putting him on the mic. And I think highlighting Bron's lack of experience here, you're right, it does babyface him in some way. And yeah, I think I'm ready to see a bit of a Bron run on top. I think he's been pretty impressive. I think he looks the part. I think he sounds great on the mic. I think from his matches, Ciampa says he's only had 10 to 20 matches. I believe it's 13. We did a little look, and for 13 matches I think this guy is really impressive. And for your developmental brand, if you're going to go with a guy, I don't necessarily disagree with this being the guy.
Well, I have a lot of questions. I think we all have a lot of questions, and it'll take time to understand the answers. Because, again, if Vince McMahon is as hands-on on this as some reports suggest, he often doesn't have a good idea of what he's trying to do or what he wants to do, which is why I don't really like his storytelling. So it is too early for Bron. I like what I've seen so far. Like, I am not anti-Bron, but I was never anti-Joe Anoa'i either. Like, I understood why Roman Reigns would be a guy that Vince had his eye on, but he pushed him too hard. It was too fast and too quickly, and it wasn't in a role that really suited, the Roman Reigns character. As we can see now, he's one of the best professional wrestling actors. This is a heel character. But for years, Vince McMahon had it in his head that he had to be a babyface. And part of the resistance he had was the way, not that the resistance wasn't to Roman Reigns necessarily, it was to the way that people felt that he was forced down their throats. And I feel like he's doing the same thing with Bron Breakker, but I don't have a good enough understanding of this NXT 2.0 audience to know how they'd respond to that. The old NXT audience, they'd push back, but this new audience, maybe they'd be happy with it. And I think an even broader question is, what is the role of the champion of this developmental brand? Because as you pointed out many times, we're going back to the Was Next era, back to FCW. The emphasis is now on developing stars, what Vince McMahon's narrow view of a star, for his main roster. So what is the purpose of the champion in that sense, right? Like, how long is Bron Breakker going to be down there? John Pollock has mentioned this. He gets the sense that people are going to be called up quicker. They're not going to spend years down in NXT 2.0. So what is best for his development? Is it as the champion trying to carry this brand to whatever objectives they have, whether ratings or subscription numbers? I don't know what objectives they have for these, or if Vince McMahon cares at all. Does he just want to put the title on Bron Breakker to see how he acts with a strap on him? I don't know what the role of the champion is in this NXT 2.0. Personally, for my tastes, I would like to see Ciampa hold on to it, and I think Bron will win, but I think they're setting it up that they could have Ciampa turn heel to retain the title, and then you could cool Bron off, put him in other feuds for 6 months or something, and then have him come back and beat Ciampa halfway through 2022. That's the kind of storytelling that I would like. I don't think it would happen, but Ciampa, he's giving me subtle heel vibes. Of course, Ciampa could also lose and then just attack him after the bell, which they did twice tonight. So maybe they'll just do that.
I mean, Ciampa also attacked Bron last week, like unprovoked. He attacked him, hitting the Widow's Bell. I think
again, I didn't watch it, so I can't tell. Like, did you feel like that was a heel turn, or was that?
It's Ciampa. He's like he's the cool anti-hero. You know, it's like it's a heelish move, but we also love him because he's like an NXT original kind of at this point, and he does things like that. He's the psycho killer. It's kind of in his character. I would say, like, if this is your brand where it's developmental and you see this guy being the future, what does it serve having Ciampa be champion at this point if it's not to put over someone? And sure, we all like the long-term storytelling and having a Ciampa turn and 6 months down the line, sure, but I kind of feel the Bron Breakker, you want to just put the rocket on him. Like you look at, and this is NXT. This is the third brand. This is developmental. This isn't Raw. This isn't SmackDown. This isn't Brock beating The Rock at SummerSlam, putting the title on him after a few months. This is NXT. And I think if you look at it more as NXT 2013, the Was Next era, Big E as your champion, that kind of thing, I kind of think it makes a lot of sense to test Bron and see how he holds himself as champion, to kind of see, all right, this could work on the main roster, or maybe it doesn't. But we've seen the Ciampa title run before, and I think we kind of have to put behind, like, this isn't the indie fed. This isn't the super indie fed that NXT used to be. This is trying to develop talent in the Vince McMahon mold for main roster. And therefore, I kind of think, I think it could damage Bron having him lose a second time and kind of move down. I think, I kind of feel it's the way you've got to go if this is how you want to have your developmental moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with all of that to a degree. I would just, I guess maybe I have a vision more of like the NWA in the 80s where you had, Race and then later Flair as the champion long term, and they'd lose it for 3 days and win it back, and they'd tour around. So I kind of like the idea of the old veteran heel champion, and then you take turns running the new guys, up against the heel champ, and that's a good way to see how they operate in the main event. But a lot of the NXT 2.0 guys are heels though, so that wouldn't really work right now. So yeah, Braun winning is probably the likeliest result. But I think Ciampa heel turn is, I think it might be coming. He might just be playing heel for this feud too, because he's not done anything bad that he can't come back from, right?
No.
But I think, it is crafted to get people to cheer Braun, and they are largely doing that, it seems.
I also think you brought up kind of the Roman Reigns being pushed down our throats a few years ago. The problem was then everyone wanted Daniel Bryan. I look at the NXT roster and I don't see who that Daniel Bryan would be. Sure, it could have been a Johnny Gargano. It could have been a Kyle O'Reilly. Pete Dunne, but I don't really hear it. I don't hear the cries for a Pete Dunne title run. So I don't think there's anything holding. Like, I don't feel there's anyone else who the audience are kind of favoring over Bron Breakker at this point, aside from people lamenting the days of NXT Black and Gold who just want to see Ciampa stay as the champ.
Most people probably just aren't watching, so.
Exactly. But I thought this was a pretty solid segment to open 2.0 this week. And then we move on to Grayson Waller, who sent in a promo via Instagram story, who for some reason is feuding with AJ Styles now. He posted a video earlier talking about how he took out LA Knight, and LA Knight's out the picture. And his whole thing is he's young. He's not into the old going up through the indies and working for a hot dog and a handshake. He's trying to make a name for himself. It's all about likes and swipes. And he says, no disrespect to AJ Styles. As a kid, I was a fan of yours, but he reminds me of that other guy. But it's 2021. You got money, so what's with that haircut? On Tinder, you'd be getting lefts all over the place. What about the phenomenal AJ Styles? I don't have a mum haircut. You have a haircut like my mum, and that isn't an insult to my mum and says, what about it's now going to be the phenomenal Grayson Waller. So you've kind of been in and out with NXT 2.0. What do you take of this character and Grayson Waller's delivery?
So I watched Halloween Havoc, and then I heard you guys review it. And I think Braden mentioned that Grayson Waller was a babyface at that point. And I'd watched this whole show where he was like hosting it. And I was thinking, I was shocked. Like, what? How the hell is this guy a babyface? He's completely unlikable. And I think at that point they were already had figured that out, and they were planning for his heel turn. He is a good heel. He is really unlikable. He's really unlikable. And the social media, like, oh, you'd be getting left swipes, that stuff really is forced in his promos, but whatever. It's weird that all of a sudden he's feuding with AJ Styles on Instagram stories. I don't know why, but if NXT is no longer, like, it's not the proper third brand, it's back to developmental. So I kind of like, we saw Riddle later on. I kind of like the idea of, once a week or every other week, there's some main roster star who comes down and does a little thing on NXT 2.0. And Grayson Waller is a good conduit for that if he's, chipping off at all of the veterans. So I think he's in a great role for himself.
I think so. And I think they're building him up to be eventually Bron Breakker's kind of big rival. He's positioned as the main heel on 2.0. And I think he's kind of grabbing the ball and running with it. It feels a bit shoehorned, the whole AJ Styles thing. But again, this feels more like 2013 NXT, where you'd have Chris Jericho come down to do a random one-off match against Bray Wyatt. You have Cesaro showing up to feud with Sami Zayn, that kind of thing. And I think if you're kind of starting to lose your veterans, your Kyle O'Reilly's going away, your Johnny Gargano's going away. So maybe this is what they're doing, bringing in your Riddles, your Brian Kendricks, as we'll get to later, and your AJ Styles. I think it's working with Grayson Waller, and he is completely unlikable, and that's a good thing in his case. After this, we go straight to Raquel Gonzalez backstage getting ready for her match, her street fight against Dakota Kai, but Dakota attacks her from behind. She picks up a long pole and swings it at Raquel, who catches it. They're swinging against the scaffolding. They're all brawling backstage. And it's all chaotic as we go to commercial break. I actually thought the kind of opening 15, 20 minutes was paced really well on this show this week. Just going bam, bam, bam. You had the Bron Ciampa stuff, the Waller stuff, and now we're going straight to this kind of blow-off street fight between Raquel and Dakota. And after the commercial, they're still brawling. They're now at ringside, and the referee made me laugh. He just goes, let's get back to the ring. The match hasn't even started yet, Dakota. As they're still fighting around. There's a moment backstage where Raquel gets Dakota on this trolley and wheels her straight into the kind of shutting door gate thing.
That was done well. But did you see how she got on the trolley? It looked like Raquel ran the trolley right into Dakota Kai's shin, and she just fell over. That looked so painful. It looked like right where you don't want to get kicked in, like, if you've been playing soccer, get kicked in the shin. It looked like she just rammed it right into her. I'm like, that looked painful.
At one point at ringside, Dakota hits a curb stomp on Raquel's head on the ring steps, which was I'm pretty sure this was the finish of Raw last night with Rollins and Kevin Owens doing this to Lashley, which apparently put out Bobby Lashley. But Raquel was back up seconds later.
Has Dakota Kai used the curb stomp before?
I don't know. I don't think so. You've got Candice LeRae had her own variation of it. But no, I don't think Dakota's done it before. There's then a flapjack in the ring from Raquel to Dakota on a set up steel chair, and Dakota just lands again on her shin on this thing.
Dakota was working hard tonight.
Oh yeah. At ringside, there's a trash can put on Raquel's head and a double stomp off the apron to the face, which I thought looked pretty cool on this trash can. And then Raquel comes back with a powerbomb on the steel steps. In the ring, there's a big boot from Raquel, and then the Chigona bomb on the trash can. 1, 2, 3. Raquel picks up the win. This, I assume, is the end of their feud, but I thought both were like going pretty hard in this one.
Yeah, this was a very good match. Best match of the night. This is kind of the pall that hangs over NXT 2.0. We have these performers we've grown to love who are not in Vince McMahon's favorite age or size range. We're kind of wondering what's next for Dakota Kai. She clearly worked very hard. She changed her character, even though that whole ticking thing she didn't really work. But she was trying new things, changed her hair, and they both worked really hard. And I can imagine that Raquel Gonzalez, they both want to give respect to the feud and respect to each other, because it definitely does seem like the blow off. And I really enjoyed it. The finish, though, I wasn't expecting it then. Like, on paper, she basically did 2 Chingona bombs, right? It was like a power bomb, Chingona bomb on the steps, and then again on a trash can inside the ring. Like, sure, that's enough to put down Dakota Kai. That's fine. But she never got that one big kick out, which I kind of wish, I don't know what the future is for Dakota Kai. I would have liked to see her just get the big kick out for one. But more than anything, what threw me off was Chekhov's table in the corner there. I'm like, well, the match can't end. The table hasn't been broken yet. So that would get a payoff later. But I kind of like them playing with expectations there, but I think it did hurt the finish of the match in that respect. So I don't know what's next for Dakota Kai, but a very good match, and they both worked very hard.
Yeah, I feel this is an ongoing thing since we moved to 2.0, is every match just feels a little too short. I feel you could have had another 3 minutes here, had that big kick out. But I did really enjoy this. I might have even preferred this to their last one. I thought they both worked really hard. And yeah, you do worry, especially after the last kind of year, what is next for Dakota? Do we see her on the main roster? I feel if she stays in NXT, she's just going to be floating around. And also, I hate when they do this, and they do this quite a lot in WWE. It's like, when you play GoldenEye, I mean, I'm aging myself, but you play those games and you shoot someone and they fall down and then their body just kind of disappears after a few seconds. And that happens a lot. Like, Dakota lost the match in this huge grudge match, and then she just vanishes as Raquel picks up the mic and stays on for a whole commercial break, a whole video vignette calling out Mandy Rose. And Dakota's just like, you don't see it, even if you just saw her stretch it off or carry it out or something, but it's just, no, that's Dakota done. You feel that's the write-off, and now let's move on to the next thing. It's just little things like that always kind of just take me out of it a little bit.
Because they've been together for, if you include the time they were teaming together, like, this has been a year and a half of storytelling. Yeah. And then within minutes at the end of the match, Raquel Gonzalez is in 2 new feuds. It goes to my overall distaste with not so much what they've done, but how they've done it. And it's like that thing, like, they're aggressively switched from NXT Black and Gold to NXT 2.0. And they almost antagonistically, it's like, oh, you like these old characters? Well, guess what? She's beaten now. Forget she even exists. We're moving on to something that's way better. So, Dakota Kai, never even heard of her. Like, she was just on screen 30 seconds ago. Don't know what you're talking about. Doesn't exist. Look, here's Cora Jade. Focus on her. It's just,
yeah.
Give it a little bit of breathing room. I don't know why it had to move so fast.
Absolutely. So Raquel gets on the mic and says she's sick and tired of waiting. Mandy Rose, I want my title rematch right now, and I'm not leaving until I get it. And we go to commercial break, and after the break, we get a little video package from Tony D'Angelo, who says, being honest is a dangerous thing. I must be the most dangerous thing in NXT because I've been honest from the beginning and done everything I said I would do. I walked into here, and at War Games, I smashed your head against the cage. I ripped your mouth guard out. And what did you do? Nothing. You come and snap my fingers, I'll see you in there, kid. I love D'Angelo just constantly calling Pete Dunne, who's young, but he's a veteran in NXT. He always calls him kid and calls these other guys kid. But Tony D'Angelo here, I kind of liked a bit more. He was a little less cartoonish than he normally is. And he can talk. The guy can talk. So I hope moving forward we see a bit more of a hybrid of his character and maybe more of a real human being than this cartoon character. But for me, I thought it was a good outing from Tony D'Angelo tonight.
Sure. I can't say the promo had an effect on me.
Fair enough. Well, Raquel is still in the ring calling out Mandy Rose when Cora Jade comes out and she wishes Raquel congratulations and says, "What a win. That was great. And I know you're calling out Mandy, but as much as you want your rematch, I want Mandy Rose and Toxic Attraction for what they did to me. They wanted to rip my arm off and end my career. And the only way to beat them is to cut the head off the snake. And I know Mandy doesn't want to face me." And Raquel cuts her off and says, "Hey, you're my girl. We went to war. You jumped off the cage with that swanton bomb. But as far as the women's championship is concerned, it's every woman for themselves. And I don't care if it's an enemy or a friend. I'm getting my title back." When on the video screen, you get sent in from, I think this is the same resort as Braden's at right now in Mexico. Mandy Rose sends in this video who says, "I don't care. You're flashing your jacket over a fluke win. You're envious of what I've done for this entire brand." And Mandy says, "Hey, it's going to be a triple threat match at New Year's Evil. And I get to kill two ugly birds with one stone. And not only do you get a title match, but an ass whooping in the same night," as Toxic Attraction, Gigi Dolan and JC Jane come from behind and attack Cora Jade and Raquel Gonzalez. I always find it weird when it's the heel, like, asking for the triple threat match, because it's such a thing in wrestling where the heel is like, "Oh no, I don't even have to get pinned to lose the title," and stuff like that. So I can't say I'm really a fan of Mandy calling this out to get it, but yeah, it's Cora Jade's kind of been having this fluke win character, and we're going to go to the three-way. I can't say this is doing a whole lot for me, to be honest. Although I did like the video sent in from the pool.
Well, yeah. So my takeaway from this whole segment were two questions about Mandy Rose. The first you've addressed is, why the heck would the champion want a triple threat match? That makes no sense. But even more puzzling to me was, in kayfabe, could Mandy Rose see Raquel Gonzalez and Cora Jade? Could she hear them? What was happening here? She was doing a selfie video by the pool, I don't remember, at this resort. But, like, could she see them? If so, how? How was she FaceTiming with these two women on a live broadcasted wrestling show? And if she couldn't, how the hell did she know all of this would happen? Did she make like 17 different videos for different situations? That, okay, here's the video if Raquel Gonzalez wins her match, calls me out, and Cora Jade comes out, and then I'll have my two girls attack them from behind. That's this contingency video. Did she have other videos? How did she do this? I need to know what Mandy Rose's deal was here.
I think she's just she's gone for a swim. She's got her iPad on. She's got the day off. She's like, "Hey, I'm going to put on a bit of NXT 2.0. And then she's like, these two are going after my title. I better call in. Calls the production truck. And she's like, "Hey, I want to talk to these two right now."
Okay. So you think maybe the producers, maybe she like charmed the producer and said, "Hey, put me on the Titantron. I got something to say."
She's the champ. If the champ wants to speak, the champ can speak for sure.
So she was luxuriating by the pool and had NXT 2.0 on a mobile device of some kind, and then she decided, "Oh, I'll call in because I want to put myself in jeopardy to lose this title in a triple threat match for some reason. Okay.
Exactly. The one thing I'm wondering is this, do you see this triple threat as a way to get the title off Mandy and perhaps send her back to the main roster? Like, is this a long-term plan with Mandy Rose? Are we going to just put the title back on Raquel? Are we going to get a Cora Jade run? Or you think Mandy's going to continue as the champ here?
Well, again, things move so fast in WWE human resources. You know, we see people get called up after 3 weeks on NXT, and then they're released 3 weeks into their main roster run. Like Tegan Nox. Remember that battery thing with Tegan Nox? Remember that? So trying to figure out any logic here is probably a fool's errand. But from what I've seen, no, I don't think Mandy Rose would go up soon, because I still think she's serving a purpose with Toxic Attraction. She's serving a purpose as a mouthpiece and as a mentor of sorts to Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. Is that her name?
It is, yeah.
So if I had to guess, this is more do the triple threat. And I hope that, you know, she'll get Raquel and Cora Jade fighting each other, and we can have Wade saying this was her plan all along, is that she wanted a triple threat to get them fighting each other. I hope they pay that off. But I assume that Cora eats the pin, and that a few months from now, we're going back to Raquel Gonzalez, Mandy Rose one-on-one. And then again, depending on what their plans for Raquel Gonzalez are, because she can go up. She's ready now. You know, she's done it all in NXT 2.0. So
I think so. I think both her and Dakota should be going up.
Dakota definitely should, but who knows?
It feels like their times like come to an end in NXT for sure.
What more do they have to accomplish? You know,
exactly. We see Wade Barrett and Vic Joseph, and Wade is in a like a last season Becky Lynch ugly sweater, and Vic Joseph is wearing a Drew McIntyre ugly sweater, and I think Mackenzie Mitchell later is wearing one of The Rock. But yeah, these aren't even current WWE shop stuff. This is like a year or two ago. They got these in the sale, but look great on Casual Tuesday, as we call it here. We see Joe.
While you were looking at their Christmas sweaters, I think it was this segment. Did you notice the woman behind them in the audience?
No.
So I don't know, again, who makes up this audience. I'm pretty sure they're not paying members of the public. I don't know how many work there or who's just coming in to see it. But a lot of people in the audience were wearing, you know, Christmas sweaters and stuff too. And there was a woman who's wearing like red pajamas and had a pillow and was pretending to be asleep.
Oh, okay.
On camera, behind the two announcers, on television. I mean, I don't know why you'd want this on your television product.
No,
yeah.
This is Mei Ying. This is Karen.
That's Mei Ying?
This is Karen Q. Yeah.
Okay, I have missed this. I have not been on top of this. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I missed the Mei Ying sighting, the Sleeping Girl sighting this week. But yeah, so Mei Ying, I don't know, died, and Boa absorbed her power, and she's now reincarnated as this girl who just sleeps around the Capital Wrestling Center. But I didn't spot her by anybody? Week. No, she's just in the background of scenes.
That is bizarre. Okay, well, at least I know who it was now. Yeah.
This is maybe our favorite gimmick. It's the gimmick we almost relate to. It's just the girl who wants to sleep, who just wants to chill.
I apologize for not being up on this because this is my first.
I missed the sighting, so I apologize. I was too busy looking at the sweaters. Well, talking of apologies, Joe Gacy now apologizes for Haaland's actions last week. Last week, Haaland choke slammed poor Spanky, Brian Kendrick, down some stairs. And he says, but given what Haaland has been through, you triggered an emotion that took him back to when people didn't like him. We don't condone violence, but Kendrick put his hands on Haaland and called him a freak. Mr. Kendrick, some people could argue that you have no one to blame but yourself. I'm not saying that, but some people are. As he gives his creepy smile, and Haaland just looks terrified. Joe Gacy, the woke character here. Opinions, Jesse?
I thought this was really good. I think I saw that first segment on the first episode of NXT 2.0, and I just rolled my eyes. Like, of course, Vince McMahon is going to make a character who's woke, and of course, that character will be bad, because how dare someone say we shouldn't offend people? What a horrible thing to say. I thought that was really lame, but you've mentioned in recent weeks how you think he's grown into this character, and I can definitely see it with Harland, and his delivery is dripping with insincerity. And I think he understands the character now. It's tough to see where it goes for Gacy as a wrestler, because the focus will always be on Harland, right? So his best case scenario is like a sort of Bray Wyatt role, I suppose, where he's got a bigger guy behind him, but he's still the focus. We'll see if that happens. But in terms of character work, I thought this was great.
I think Gacy is someone who I don't necessarily see as like his future in this company as a wrestler, but as a mouthpiece for people, I think he could be fantastic and could work definitely on the main roster in this kind of role. It's definitely come together for me, and I think the pairing with Harland really works. And I love the excuses that it's, oh, you brought this on yourself by triggering him and that kind of thing. This character is definitely coming together, and I think Joe Gacy performs it very well. And I say every week, Harland terrifies me. He's a scary looking dude. We see grizzled young veterans backstage who are on their iPad watching videos of the Creed brothers who are training. They're lifting weights. They're doing backflips. And Gibson says, one thing I hate is arrogant people like the Creeds. And the only way we're going to beat them is not with our muscles, but by using he points their head, using their minds, as they head off for their match against the Creed brothers. Not so much silliness this week between these two. They're not trying to steal people's phones to order Uber Eats or anything. But yeah, still going down this thing where they've got to kind of outsmart everyone else, but not quite working for them.
That video of the Creeds that was doing the rounds on social media. I don't remember what he said. It was like 315 pounds or something. They had on that barbell there, and that shit they were doing. That's impressive. Like that, you can kind of like with Bron Breakker. You can tell, no one begrudges Vince McMahon or anyone in WWE for looking at these guys and saying them. Yeah, foster that talent, because that makes total sense. A little bit disappointed with where grizzled young veterans are, but glad they weren't doing dopey ass shit like stealing food for some reason.
Yeah, that stuff kind of makes more sense to me, because it is kind of it's playing on the stereo, like the Guerreros played on a stereotype with them when they did their stuff. It's very much a stereotype of people from like Liverpool, but it's just not necessarily
Vince McMahon
done.
Doesn't know that.
No, but that's why I think maybe it's something that they're pitching themselves. Like, we want to get more personality out of you and stuff. I think Gibson's strength is just walking to the ring with the mic and talking. But I don't hate it as much as other people, but I agree. Like, it's when it comes, you can do all that stuff, but when it comes to the bell ringing and having a match, you need to go back to being the grizzled young vets we all like know and love, right? And I don't think they've been really able to do that since NXT 2.0, because the matches aren't really designed or booked that way anymore, which is a shame. And I think we'll go into that more in the match coming up. But before we get to that match, we see Indy Hartwell and Persia Pirotta backstage, and they say that their match got postponed as Grayson Waller walks in. And this might be the most amount of Australians we've had on the TV at the same time in WWE ever, maybe? I don't know. 3 Aussies here. And Indy says, I'll never forgive you what you did to... And before he can say the words Johnny Gargano, which we can't say anymore because he's on Twitch, so God forbid we say Johnny Gargano, Grayson cuts them off and says, look, we're all Australians here. We should be friends. And Persia says, look, I think you should be more concerned about AJ Styles. Grayson Waller says, AJ Styles, I don't worry about him. Grayson Waller is the way of the future. as Indy gets all worked up and goes to hit him. And we cut to Wade Barrett, who calls Grayson Waller a complete wanker.
You actually skipped over my favorite part of the show right there.
Oh, what was that?
Indy, it popped me because it seemed that came out of nowhere. At the end of her sentence, she just called Grayson a douche.
Oh, yeah.
I just laughed so hard. I never expected her to call him a douche. And I just thought that was hilarious. So props to Indy. I just thought that was so funny.
Jesse, this is the edgy show, all right?
Yeah,
we can say douche, we can see Mandy at a swimming pool, and we can say wanker on Tuesday nights because it's 2.0, baby. It's edgy. I kind of like Indy and Persia together. I see kind of big things for Persia, and they are kind of cooling off a little bit on the Indy Dexter stuff, like still reference, but it's definitely about this tag team and potential feud down the line between these two. But I think all three of these have a certain charm and charisma to them, where that they can carry these scenes. We go to our next match which is Grizzled Young Veterans taking on the Creed brothers. We start off with Julius Creed and Zach Gibson starting things off. We get a really nice takedown from Julius, who tags in Brutus. And I think it's Brutus, gut-wrench slams Julius on top of Gibson, which looked pretty impressive. There's then these repeated knees from both of the Creed brothers to the ribs of James Drake. And then Jacket Time come out just before the commercial break to join commentary. And if you know me, I love a good watermelon shirt. I've got a very nice watermelon shirt, and Giro here rocking a whole watermelon suit, which I need to find out where he got this from. Looks very snazzy. After the commercial break, we see that Jacket Time actually have their own announce table, and that's when Briggs and Jensen come out dressed a little bit nicer than normal. I think maybe they're trying to perhaps impress Caden and Casey. They got some nicer shirts than just the flannel, but still both holding their belt buckles, looking a bit weird. We get this big drop kick from Julius, and then an assisted power slam from the Creed brothers to Drake. There's then a big tope suicida from Drake catching Brutus while he's being distracted by Gibson on the outside. And then Julius attacks, and they go to powerbomb Gibson through the announce table when Jacket Time get up and Grizzled Young Vets shove the Creeds into Jacket Time, and the match all breaks down. Everyone's brawling. Briggs and Jensen get involved, and the crowd really get into this and start chanting NXT, NXT, NXT. But yeah, the match is thrown out. Again, like I think we've seen the Creeds versus GYV before, and both times you watch and you go, this is annoying because I can see there's a good match here, but like potentially a good match here. Grizzled Young Vets are fantastic. They're veterans. They know what they're doing. The Creed brothers are a bit newer to this, but you can see the talent. And I think everything they hit looks pretty legit, and their suplexes look so nice, where I think given time and not the distractions of a man doing Japanese commentary in a watermelon suit on the outside and two beer swilling, I don't know, Briggs and Jensen, like it's all distraction, which like, can we just get the match? But yeah, I think I'm really low on this tag division at the moment, which is a shame because I do think you've got talented teams there.
Yeah, I felt like this was a bit disappointing because I haven't seen any GYV Creed Brothers match. I missed the first one. But I was looking forward to this for the reasons you mentioned, because, I saw that clip online. I know these guys are jacked. I know they have a good background, and GYV are great. But and maybe you can answer this for me, I was confused. Were there any baby faces in this match? Are the Creed brothers faces or heels? I don't understand. Because I thought Roddy was a heel, but now he's feuding with Carmelo Anthony and Malcolm Bivens. Can he be a babyface manager? Does that make sense? Is this what's happening with Diamond Mine?
I feel there's not really been a hard turn, but I feel the Diamond Mine are babyfaces now. Like Roddy is certainly the babyface against Carmelo. Ivy Nile last week was getting great reactions from the crowd where she was up against Amari Miller. Like they just wanted to watch her kill this woman. And the Creed brothers, like their style is kind of fan friendly. Like I'm not saying they're doing flips and stuff, but they just look so legit. I definitely think they're meant to be more babyface now. GYV are the clear heels in this. Briggs and Jensen, I think, are meant to be baby faces, but don't do it for me at all. And then Jacket Time are just a joke.
That confused me too, because at the end, it looked like they were facing off, and I was expecting them to announce a 4-on-4 match next week. But it looked like Jacket Time and Briggs and Jensen were the baby faces, and the two teams you just saw wrestle each other were the heels, and it would be those four against those four, which confused me because I assumed Briggs and Jensen were heels, just because I don't like them.
Yeah.
And I thought the Creed brothers would be fit, because later on, Diamond Mine had that angle where Bivens was talking to Carmelo Anthony. So I'm like, so clearly they're baby faces. It confused me. Again, the thing was more of an angle than a match. I was disappointed. I think I have a higher preference for squash matches than others. And it's tough too, because, I don't really think NXT 2.0 is doing much touring, right? So to get better,
no.
The Creed brothers have to work with veterans who are better than they. That's how they get better. But in terms of TV product, I would just love to see those guys just squash some skinny fat losers every week. Just throw them around and drop them on their heads. I would love that.
Honestly, that's when they've been the most entertaining. And I think until you
crowds get into that, that's the Goldberg thing. Crowds get it. It's a tried and tested method. But if they're not touring, then how are the Creeds going to get better? So.
Yeah, I will.
This is what you have to do.
I hope, because obviously MSK are kind of tied up with Imperium, who are the champs. But down the line, I would love to see. I think Creed Brothers versus MSK and Creed Brothers versus Imperium are matches I really want to see. But they've got to go through all these guys here. But for me, they seem head and shoulders above in the rankings, if you will. These other three teams. And yeah, Jacket Time and Briggs and Jensen just not doing it for me at all. Neither are GYV, to be honest. But yeah, this was kind of the low point of the show for me. We go backstage to Mackenzie Mitchell, also in her Christmas sweater, and she interviews Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams ahead of Trick Williams' match against Dexter Lumis. And this time it's Mello talking for Trick, and he calls Trick fearless. He says he's taken out guys in the street, and Roddy got scared of Dexter back in the day, but not Tricky. And then Trick says that Tricky B. Williams ain't scared. Dexter puts his thumb up, but the only place his thumb is going to be is up his ass. And then Dexter appears on the screen behind them, and they get spooked and run off. This feud keeps on going on, where people are getting scared of Dexter Lumis. This has been going on since Halloween now, since before Halloween. And I fear we're still going on with this. Any comments on this, or shall I move on to the next segment?
You can move on.
Okay. We've got Io Shirai and Zoe Stark backstage, and Zoe's shown up for rehab. She's rehabbing her knee, and she thanks Io for coming. And Io says she's only here to get a massage. When LDF, Legado del Fantasma, show up to also get some work done, and Io shouts at them, tells them to leave. When Elektra Lopez shows up and says, "Everyone knows you're crazy, but I'm not afraid of you." And then Io speaks in Japanese to her, and Carmen kind of walks away. And Zoe says, "You stood up for me, didn't you? I knew you liked me." And Io says, "No, I don't." So still playing the "I don't like you" thing. I like that they're, while Zoe's injured, that they're still using her. They're not having her completely go away so you don't forget about her. But again, I hate these "I don't like you" segments. But at least we're getting an Io match tonight, because I feel she's someone who's very much faded into the background, and she's like a Dakota Kai, like a Raquel Gonzalez. You kind of wonder what is next for her. Has she done everything there is to do in NXT? And even in the match later on, it's more of an angle more than a match. So Io and Zoe still not doing it for me, even though they're not teaming anymore.
Io has to leave. Like, two people, Io and Pete Dunne, kind of made me sad seeing on the show, because, I mean, Roddy, Ciampa, like, they know what the deal is. We know what the deal is. They're getting paid, and they will until they're cut. They have a role. Yeah, maybe we'd like to see them in main event WrestleMania or whatever, because they're good enough wrestlers, but we know it's not going to happen. Io and Pete Dunne, they're still young, and they're amazing, and they're not being used to their full potential. GYV to a lesser extent too, because I think GYV could actually do well in the main roster. I think that's a team that Vince McMahon would enjoy in his tag division, right? And obviously Io is very small, but I guess Pete Dunne's pretty small too. But it's just like, you guys, I want to see you move on as performers, and I just don't see anything you can do in this NXT 2.0 that is worthy of your talent, to be honest.
I don't see the size thing being as big an issue for the women. I mean, look, Alexa Bliss has held the title how many times?
True, yeah.
I don't see that being a big holdup. And I think at any point you could just have Becky Lynch running her mouth. Io Shirai comes out, yells at her in Japanese, slaps her. Like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready for that match. And I think Io, like, you present her like, well, I think Asuka, they took time, but actually during that kind of, towards the beginning of the pandemic, I think they actually really figured out how to use Asuka on the main roster and started to realize, we don't need to try and have her speak English all the time. She's got a charisma. She can yell and stuff and be colorful and expressive, and it works. Io, I'll take that back, because it's WWE and it's Vince McMahon, but I see Io working. I could see Io working on the main roster. Pete, for sure, I think he'd be better moving up in maybe some kind of group or something. And Ciampa, I think, is happy. I think Ciampa is in that player-coach role. He's mentioned before he doesn't necessarily want to do main roster because of his neck, and he worries about the touring and that kind of thing. Whereas he is, by the sounds of it, very hands-on with this new class in NXT and the Performance Center. And I feel he's kind of content where he is. But you're right, Io and Dana are young enough. And Dakota, I put her in the mix as well, where their ceiling is way higher than this. But they're just in a kind of purgatory now, which is a shame to see.
Yeah, who knows what Vince McMahon will like or not, other than fart jokes. But Io Shirai comes out with that entrance and does one moonsault. Pete Dunne does the finger snapping thing once. WWE crowds will get into that. Like, yeah. I know that. I can tell you that. Like, they will get into that. They are very charismatic performers. They're very good at what they do. And there's no reason for them to be on NXT. There's just no reason. Like, Ciampa, there's a reason. I get it. Yeah. With these two, like, promote them, pay them, and I don't watch main roster, so I guess I wouldn't see them. But
I think if you heard there was an Io Shirai Becky match or an Io Shirai Sasha match or Charlotte match, I think that's something that I would tune in to watch. I mean,
and I do. Someone who doesn't watch Stardom just because for timing reasons, I don't. I know Stardom has amazing matches, but like. The WWE women's roster for main roster is still like the biggest draw for someone like me, right? Because they have amazing wrestlers. Bianca Sasha, probably the best main roster match for WWE this year. They can do it when it's just not Charlotte versus Becky 17 times in a row. Io with any of them. Like if it's not just Io is on Raw this week and she's wrestling, I don't know who's on Doudrop. Like no, I'm probably not going to get to that. But if you build it up. Yeah, of course. I'll definitely tune into that. Yeah. And I think most WWE fans would. So, yeah, I didn't want to get on. Sorry for getting on a tangent there. It was just a small backstage segment. But I just thought, what are you doing here? Like, you're better than this. Like, there's more for you out there. That's all.
Go to our next match. Dexter Lumis taking on Trick Williams. Trick goes for a pump kick early that gets caught by Dexter and gets shoved back. We see Mello in Trick's corner wearing some nice kind of Santa-style red overalls and a Santa hat as he's trying to coach Mello in the corner. But Dexter comes after Trick, hits the Luthez press and a neck crank. Trick catches Dexter with a drop kick. We then see Bivens and Ivy Nile are watching on from the perch. Trick gets caught in the apron, in the apron skirt, and super kicked by Dexter, which I thought actually looked pretty nice. Dexter then gives the thumbs up as Roddy shows up in a blue tracksuit to attack Mello, and then Trick hits a scoop slam for a 2 count and applies a headlock forever to Dexter. We then get the clothesline bulldog combo from Dexter, followed by the kip up and the leg drop. And then Trick goes to use the shoe against Dexter. Yes, who throws a shoe? But gets caught with the Uranagi into the silence, and Trick passes out and Dexter wins the match. For me, Trick isn't showing much at all in the ring. Like, his offense was very, very limited here. Dexter, I think in short bursts can be okay. Some of the moves he does quite nicely, but I'm not too interested in watching Dexter Lumis matches. And Trick of this new class is definitely low down for me from what he's shown he can do.
This is just a match, TV match. Could have done without that long headlock spot, but it was that progressed storylines. Ideally, you'd want both performers to be in there with someone better, because we've seen Dexter have good matches, and Trick is athletic, so he can learn. But against each other, styles make fights, and these weren't great styles.
Yeah, I think Dexter actually the best is when he was in the tag team with Johnny, or even teaming with Indy. He needs that person to play off against. Otherwise, the singles matches get very repetitive, where he's just the scary murderer guy chasing people. Whereas in short bursts in a tag match, I think for a kind of bigger guy, some of his moves look kind of cool. But when it comes to a singles match, he's really not too interesting. After the match, Grayson Waller attacks Dexter Lumis with the steel chair, and AJ Styles arrives as we go to now Pete Dunne talking ahead of his main event. And he says, no one else.
This is a mile a minute. Like, I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to do the Paul Heyman ECW thing. Never let you rest, so that you're always glued to the TV. And there's value in that. But so Dexter beats the flunky. So the match we should be expecting is Dexter versus Carmelo Anthony for the North American title. That's the storytelling. Yeah. Not the basketball player. That would be interesting. But instead, we have Roddy attack Mello. And so that's the announced match. And then Grayson Waller attacks Dexter, which is sort of a nod to his attacking Johnny. And then all of a sudden, AJ Styles is here. So,
yeah.
Where my head is spinning. What match are we building to?
I mean, Roddy and Mello has been built for a while, and the Trick and Dexter thing is kind of just like the remains of the Johnny Gargano feud. It's just like tying that up. And you're right, there is a lot going on here, though, because when you add AJ Styles and you're like, you don't even go here. It's like, well,
AJ Styles NXT debut. Okay.
Geez, to note this show as well, there's just a lot going on. I will say what I appreciated on this show tonight is we didn't have the fucking stupid vignettes throughout the show. All the vignettes were a bit more, I felt everything was driving to a place a bit more. Like the Pete Dunne and Tony D'Angelo inserts this week are heading towards the main event. So I found the pacing a little better than usual, but it is chaotic. There is a lot being thrown at you at once. So Pete Dunne says, no one else is like me. I just turned 28 and I have 15 years of experience. I'm a tag champ. I'm a Dusty Classic winner. I'm a record-breaking UK. I had a record-breaking UK championship run, which I'm pretty sure Walter overtook, right? He was the second. He was the second champion. So he broke Tyler Bates' championship reign, who was the first champion. So I'm like, Pete, I maybe not gloat about that one. But he says, these 2.0 geezers are young, but they're the same age as me, and I have more experience, and I'm hungrier. I'm the baddest man around here, and I'll make sure you won't forget it. And we go back to the ring with Grayson Waller. I did like his shirt this week, by the way. I did ask him where he got it from on Twitter. Still waiting for a response. But he says, I hate seeing WWE superstars getting into the Hall of Fame and thanking everyone. They thank their mom, their dad, and thank all of you, the WWE universe, like your opinion matters. And when I get inducted, I will say, you're welcome, because I deserve it. And that's when AJ Styles comes out. And Waller says, you see that? The Grayson Waller effect brings AJ Styles to NXT. And AJ tells him to shut the hell up. And he goes, this is him? This is the Grayson Waller, the biggest jackass in NXT? I saw your social media. I bet you feel good about yourself. And Waller's like, yeah, I do. I got the attention of this future Hall of Famer. And is it because you want to help out the younger talent? Nah, it's because your meal ticket left you and you need a new tag partner. I appreciate the sentiment, AJ, but I'm a singles guy. And AJ says, I see you. I see the little gloves you wear and the one elbow pad. It reminds me of someone. And I'm not sure if it's Grayson Waller or AJ Styles I'm watching. You're cocky, and I appreciate that. But a future superstar? Bron Breakker, I see. Tony D'Angelo, I see. Carmelo Hayes, I see. But Grayson, the jury's still out on you. And the problem is you'd rather look good and lose than look bad and win. Grayson said, did you not see? I jumped off that cage at War Games and helped my team win. And AJ goes, yeah, but you're more about likes and swipes. And Grayson says, funny, you're here when your insurance policy isn't in the ring, referring to Omos. He says, I could end you right now if I wanted. So AJ says, do it. Go on, do it. You're good for 3 weeks and you think you're a superstar. Try being phenomenal for 20 years. Do it. And Waller rips his nice shirt off, looking like he's going to fight, but fails. So I guess we're getting AJ Styles, Grayson Waller soon, possibly even New Year's Evil. And you know what? It's kind of random, but I take this over anything AJ Styles has done with Omos in the last, year? And I think this could be pretty good, these two, if given time.
Well, judging from the segment, Omos is the big star. Everyone's talking about Omos. Where is he? This guy sounds amazing. But no, I'd be willing to wager a fair amount that AJ Styles versus Grayson Waller will be a significantly better match than AJ Styles versus Omos. Yeah. New Year's Evil would be great. I don't know why this is happening. I don't know why all of a sudden NXT 2.0 guys are cutting promos on Instagram on main roster guys, and then matches all of a sudden happen. But sure, you have my interest.
Apparently AJ Styles is LA Knight and Johnny Gargano's best friend or something, and we just didn't know about it. But yeah, I do think Waller sounds good. I think he's seeming more and more comfortable in this role. It's just a matter of backing it up in the ring, and I think he's shown he's got flashes of that. And AJ Styles is one of the best you can go against, and having a good singles match from AJ Styles, I'm never gonna turn my head away from, especially with what he's been doing the last year. So we'll see. This could be a big thing for Waller, actually, against AJ. We go to Malcolm Bivens with Diamond Mine. No Hachiman. the coach this week. So I wonder if that's going to continue moving forwards. But just Ivy Nile, the Creeds, and Roddy. And Biven says, look, that's what happens when you disrespect us. It's all about respect and money. We're all about the big money matches. So what I propose is at New Year's Evil, it's going to be title versus title. And Roddy says, you have 2 weeks to find those balls. Ho, ho, ho. So, yeah, we're getting the match we all assumed we're going to get. We're going to unify the North American title with the Cruiserweight title at New Year's Evil. And, yeah, I think Melo has been fantastic, actually, since joining NXT. Roddy, we all know, an absolute workhorse. I can't see him coming out of this with the titles, but who knows? I think again, this looks I think New Year's Evil is shaping up quite nicely, actually, with Bron and Ciampa and potentially AJ and Grayson and this Roddy Carmelo match.
Yeah, Melo, I don't even put in the same class as the NXT 2.0 guys. I'm not sure what his experience was before NXT, but he's great. Like, for my money, he's already there. Like, the guy, he can talk. He's a great wrestler, great look. Yeah, no problem with me. Again, Roddy is in Roddy's spot, and it is what it is for him. And even though the heel face dynamic of Diamond Mine is still a bit confusing for me, I'm sure it'll be a great match. And while it's unfortunate that, what happened with the Cruiserweight Classic 6 years ago now is going to end like this. This has been on the cards for a while, and I haven't watched an episode of 205 Live in about 6 years. So I can't say I'm too disappointed. For a while there, with I can't even remember his name now. The dude from Legado.
Santos Escobar?
Thank you. So I didn't mean to disrespect him. I'm trying to praise him. For a while there, he had the title, and he had a really good run, and he made that title relevant, I think, more than it had been for years, and that was a great run. But largely, that title and that whole division has been kind of just nothing. So I wish I'd rather them build it up and do it properly, but they're not going to. So sure, unify the titles, give Melo another thing to brag about. Fine.
Yeah, that was definitely the peak of that, where you had the tournament, you had Drake Maverick. That was when he had his whole release and was doing that tournament. And it was, but that story helped elevate the title. People were interested in that, and you actually had some. That's when you brought in Swerve as well, and you had Santos, who was under the mask and revealed the Legado. Yeah, that was definitely the peak of that run. But I think it is time now. You don't have a cruiserweight division anymore, so might as well unify the two. We go to MSK with the Shaman, Riddle, and they're all on their brand new scooters that they got last week from the fanny packs. And Riddle says the scooter is like a tag partner, and I may be your shaman, bro, but you're teaching me so much too. And check out the bags, bro. And they open up the bag, and it's like a commercial for WWE Shop. They're pulling out all this RK Bro merch. And Riddle says he'll be with them next week on NXT. And they're all riding their scooters as some song plays called Best Day Ever, as the words Best Day Ever come up on the screen. And they all say, this is the best day ever, as a car comes towards them. And they go, oh, shit. Remember, this is the Edgy Show, folks. And they get hit by this car, but MSK wake up, and they're right back to where they were weeks ago by the bus stop, where they started on their epic journey to find the shaman. And Wesley and Nash Carter look at each other and they say, did you have the same dream? They go, oh, let's dump the supplies. That was weird. So they open up their bag to dump what I assume, Jesse, is marijuana, cannabis. But
no.
Yeah. But actually it's not at all. it's actually an RK Bro hat. So they're like, wait, what? Was it a dream or did it really happen? As the bus pulls and drives past them, and Riddle shows up and says, let's go beat this holiday traffic, bros. And they ride off on their scooters. Yeah. So was it here? Do we see these two again? Did I miss the bit where, is it Imperium? It's Imperium later that refer to Walter. Yeah. But yeah, Riddle is coming to NXT next week, finally. And MSK have been off of in-ring stuff for a while. Part of me wonders if this is a tactic because of the whole stuff with Izzy and her dad and them getting booed at Full Sail, whether have them stay off TV a bit, come back with a bit of a fan favorite like a Matt Riddle, might try and get this crowd to win them over a bit. But I am interested in seeing Riddle in NXT again. I think this pairing definitely works. Some of it's cheesy, but I think there is a charm to all three of these guys where you're watching it and going, yeah, this is stupid, but it's not a square peg in a round hole. These are the kind of guys who should be doing this kind of stuff, I guess. But I'm ready to see them back in the ring because these guys are great.
My big takeaway was that this segment was written very weird.
They all have been, Jesse.
Why do the dream sequence tease if Riddle's just going to show up again? Why do they do that whole thing getting hit by the car? What purpose did that serve? If you're going to do the hit by the car, wake up from a dream state thing, then you pull out the hats and go, or was it a dream? And then that's when you cut. You don't then show Riddle again because that takes away the whole point of doing the car in the dream sequence.
I 100% agree. Because that's what you have, isn't it? You have they've gone on this epic journey and they travel in time and see the dinosaurs and pick up a dinosaur tooth and put it in their pocket, and then they wake up the next day and it was a dream, but they reach in their pocket and the tooth is there and did it happen? I'm pretty sure that was a kid's book I read at school. But I'd have definitely cut at the RK Bro thing and maybe even have a note in there saying see you next week, bro, or something like that. And they look at each other. But it was odd. So did they get hit by the car?
I feel like somebody wrote it and that they had that ending. And then Vince or someone came in and said, no, goddamn, we have to make sure everyone knows Riddle's going to be on next week. Put Riddle back in it and make sure he's I will be on NXT 2.0 next week. So there wasn't a point. But Riddle hang out with these guys. Riddle in a match with these guys, sure, it's fine. I just could not get over that extraneous bit at the end. That just seemed silly.
Well, talking about things that seem a bit silly, we go to Von Wagner taking on Edris Enofe. Yes, Von Wagner, the guy who single-handedly put an end to Kyle O'Reilly, sent him packing, out of here, out of this company. And he's taken on Edris Enofe. Robert Stone is at ringside watching. Last week, Robert Stone kind of saying that he wants people to take him seriously, and he's going to take them seriously from now on. So Von catches Edris with a power slam. There's an inside cradle from Enofe for a near fall, followed by a big clothesline from Von. And Wade on commentary says, with a little more seasoning, he thinks Von could be the next Sheamus or Drew McIntyre. And then Wagner looks at Robert Stone at ringside, and Edris just catches him with a roll-up and beats Von Wagner in a couple of minutes. After the match, Wagner's pissed and beats up Edris Enofe. But very odd here.
So I really liked this match, and I really disliked the post-match segment. Have we seen Edris Enofe before? Have you seen this guy before?
Yeah, he's been in for a few weeks now.
Okay, so I hadn't seen him before, and the match is starting, and I see these two guys, and Edris Enofe has a better physique. His gear looked amazing. he's more athletic than Von Wagner. All Von Wagner has over this guy is he's taller. That's it. And I remember you guys talking about his gear before. Von Wagner's pants are awful.
They're horrible. Horrible.
And I look at these two guys and I'm like, Edris Enofe looks like the star to me. This is the guy I want to see. I don't want to see Von Wagner. And then Edris Enofe wins the match. And I'm like, yeah, this is great. I like this. But then Rich calls it a Rich. That's the commentator,
Vic.
Right? Vic. I'm bad with names today.
Rich Brennan.
Vic.
That's a throwback. That was NXT years ago.
It's been a while. I'm sorry. Vic says it's a Christmas miracle, and I'm like, well, don't call it a miracle. This guy isn't Leon Ruff. This guy looks great. Like you can say it's an upset, but let's. And then Von Wagner just beats the crap out of him at the end anyway. So the victory accomplished absolutely nothing. We're back to where we start. And then Von Wagner storms off, and we have some really bad nonverbal acting from Robert Stone, some bad WWE acting. So I thought the match was great. I'm like, yes, this is a springboard for Edris Enofe. This guy looks great. I want to see more of him. But no, it wasn't. It was just a meaningless result erased with a meaningless post-match attack that's going to some story that I don't care about.
It's one of those things where it doesn't serve anyone. You undermine the win immediately from Enofe, and I wouldn't even be surprised if they don't even follow up with this, as in with Edris. They're following it up with Von Wagner, Team Robert Stone. But you gave Von Wagner a huge win. You were the guy that wrote off Kyle O'Reilly, someone who's been mainstay in this company for a while, who's main evented takeovers, and 2 weeks later you've got Edris Enofe, who has been positioned as brand new enhancement talent in the last couple of weeks, getting a surprise win. But this doesn't serve anyone. It makes Wagner look weak. Robert Stone is a joke manager. Like, we're not going to take him seriously at this point. And I can't see anything coming out of this with Enofe either. So, yeah, I really didn't like this. We go backstage to Mackenzie Mitchell, who interviews Imperium, who have their live translations back. This is so impressive how they're able to translate what they're saying at real time. Very, very cool here. Marcel Bartel says, referring to MSK, we ripped their heart out and shattered them to pieces. Now they're trying to figure out how to put them back together. And they may be looking for direction from the shaman. And Mackenzie interrupts them and says, look, I'm sorry, I don't speak Italian or German, and I can't see the translations on the screen. But tell me, do MSK pose a threat to you? And they say, they may have a shaman, but we have a general. Yes.
Ooh.
So this is pretty exciting. A bit of a Matt Riddle Volta tease. I'm all for this. I'm all for the 6-man, and I'm all for the singles. Give it to me.
There was a lot of stuff on this show. I'm like, oh yeah, that was good. Oh yeah, that's interesting. This is the only thing that got me to sit up and go, are they teasing MSK Riddle versus Imperium, including Volta in a 6-man? Because that is appointment television for me. I am watching that. You got me. Like, Volta is maybe my favorite for the 3 matches of his I watch a year. They're all amazing. So if they're doing this, like, that'll be great. That'll be the different styles. They're all dynamic. And I know Braden has mentions this every time you talk about Imperium, but these guys, clearly they've been in the gym for a lot of 2021. Those guys look amazing. Again, you hope that they're not too short for Vince McMahon, because they have all the tools to succeed in any promotion if they're given the right time. And if that 6-man happens and it's given, 15, 20 minutes, that'll be great. That'll be amazing. That'll be something special, I think. So
I think Walter Riddle as well, 1-on-1, I think could be. I'm trying to think if they might have had an Atlas title match at Progress a few years ago. I'm trying to remember, but yeah, I can see that match killing it as well. But yeah,
I don't even want to get my hopes up though.
I know.
I don't think they do that, because if they did that, I would. I mean, everything I said and then some for a one-on-one match between those two. But I don't think they would. They're going in that direction. But
you think it's just the 6-man?
Yeah.
I mean,
I hope it's at least that.
We haven't seen Walter for a while, and I feel we keep on thinking he's going to come over. Hopefully this is the time we're going to get him stateside a bit more permanently. Excuse me. But yeah, I mean, you could even, in another company, you could bleed this into main roster and set up for a big Walter-Randy match down the line. Walter just killing Riddle, and big brother Randy has to avenge him at WrestleMania. Would be kind of cool, but I don't see that happening. Let's settle for the 6-man for now.
I mean, Walter, Randy Orton. Walter just chopping the crap out of Orton and out wrestling him for 10 minutes, and then Orton is getting his ass kicked. He doesn't get one blow, and then at the very end, RKO pins him.
Love it.
Do it.
We go to Elektra Lopez. This is the Aaron Sorkin West Wing moment of the week. They keep doing this in NXT now. They're walking down the corridor whilst cutting a promo as they're going to the ring. Lopez says, this is the biggest match of her career, but am I nervous? Not in the least. I'm about to destroy Io Shirai. And as she's walking to the ring, we see Zion Quinn, who's just waiting behind. Jesse, I don't know if you're aware, but there's a bit of a romance going on between Zion Quinn and Elektra Lopez, but we don't know if they really like each other or whether they're just fucking with each other or what. But a lot of sexual chemistry between these two. We get a little video package of NXT superstars at the Boys and Girls Clubs doing charity work. It was nice. It was cute. And then we go to our match, Elektra Lopez versus Io Shirai. Lopez applies a headlock to Io for quite a while. Io fights out, hits the 619 and missile drop kick, followed by the Meteora in the corner for a 2 count. And this is when Zion Quinn comes out and beats up Legado del Fantasma. We see he has mistletoe in his mouth. He gets on the apron and holds up the mistletoe, and Elektra Lopez is like, I really want to win this wrestling match, but it's also Christmas and this guy's kind of hot and he's holding mistletoe and I don't know, what shall I do? But Santos Escobar comes to the save, pulling Zion Quinn off the apron, and they start fighting. Io hits the palm strike, followed by the moonsault. 1, 2, 3. Io Shirai wins. And then there's a look between Quinn and Elektra Lopez, and you're thinking, did Zion do that deliberately? Did he try and deliberately distract her to get her to lose, or does he really want to kiss this woman? So we're continuing that between the two, but bit of a nothing match. I think Lopez does have a bit of a star quality when we're seeing her in segments outside of the ring with Legado. I think she looks fantastic when she's all kind of dressed up and leading Legado del Fantasma. I don't mind the stuff with Zion Quinn, but she is incredibly limited in the ring. And I mean, we kind of had the discussion about Io earlier, like, what is she doing here? But yeah, again, this didn't do a whole lot for me.
So for any of the listeners who are trying to court a woman or catch a woman's attention, Zion Quinn has given a very good example of what to do here. If you fancy a woman, you go to where she works, her place of business, and you fuck around and you distract her and you cause her to screw up at her job. Women love that. That's great. This was.
You see, I tried this recently, Jesse, and she turned out to be married. So, I don't know.
You just gotta make her screw up even worse, and maybe she'll fall for you.
All right.
At the end, you had Wade Barrett, who's nominally the heel commentator, going, "This is all Zion Quinn's fault," and you had Vic said, "No, it's not Zion. It's definitely not his fault." And Vic, No, it's definitely his fault. What the hell is he doing here? He comes down the ring. He sticks his nose where it doesn't belong. He's distracting her while she's at work. Her friends in Legado del Fantasma, he just beats them up. Don't know why. And then Santos comes down. He's like, hey, quit fucking around. Get out of here. Just beats him up, throws him in the steps, gets on the apron. He's fucking around with the mistletoe. And then she loses the match. How is this supposed to win her heart, Zion Quinn? What are you doing? What are you trying to accomplish?
Well, that's been the whole thing. Like Elektra kind of did the same thing to him the other week. And it's the whole time you're questioning whether they're deliberately distracting and costing the other person the match. Or so the other week she threw some brass knucks to Zion to use against Escobar. And he was like, wait, what? I'm not going to use these, but in the distraction, Escobar won. So you're going, did she want him to use it so he wins because she likes him, or did she do it as the distraction? And it's the reverse of that here, where he's doing the mistletoe, and it's like, is he doing that because he wants a little Christmas smooch, or because he's actually trying to cost her the match? So,
they're all unlikable. They're dumbasses.
At least EO won, though. At least she's like, fuck this shit. Like, Moon Soul 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Get EO away from these people.
Yes. We go to Carmelo Hayes, who says, talking to Roddy Strong, you want smoke with Melo? Well, I got smoke. I'm the A champ. 2021, when I shoot, I don't miss, and it's going to be the same in 2022. New Year's Evil, I'm going to walk out with 2 titles. We've kind of talked about all this already. Melo, again, sounds great. I'm looking forward to this match. We then get a video sent in from Brian Kendrick, who's in a neck brace, and says, thank you, referring to Haaland and Joe Gacy. Thank you for your attempt at an apology. But today, I resigned as a coach of NXT. And if you want an apology, you can get it in the ring next week. And it's official. Next week, Haaland is going to murder Brian Kendrick again in a match. I quite like this stuff. I enjoyed the segment last week with Haaland killing Brian Kendrick, and I'm all for it to happen again next week and giving a little shine to Brian Kendrick here. That's announced for next week, along with the championship unification contract signing with Wade Barrett overseeing it. And we've got Dexter Lumis taking on Grayson Waller, and Raquel, Gonzalez, and Cora Jade in our weekly Can They Coexist tag match, taking on Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. And that brings us to tonight's main event. Pete Dunne, taking on Tony D'Angelo. The match starts, and as they're running the ropes, D'Angelo catches Dunn with a beautiful-looking suplex, just dumping Dunn on his neck, shoulders, and head. There's another nice-looking throw from D'Angelo. Dunn goes for a Kimura, but gets caught with a released German suplex. Dunn's going for a lot of his joint manipulation and hits some chops, but then has a kind of wrestling-style takedown from D'Angelo, followed by the Northern Lights suplex, which he rolls through and goes to go into his finisher, the Fisherman Neckbreaker, but Dunn catches him with the triangle, which D'Angelo picks him up to powerbomb him out of him. Picks him up into another suplex to get out of the hold. We get another suplex sending Dunn into the turnbuckle. Dunn then comes back with a running knee to the arm. He stomps down on Tony's hand, and then they're both on each other's knees, just trading blows and forearms. And then Dunn goes for the X-Plex, but D'Angelo counters it with a Falcon Arrow, goes for the pin, but the referee doesn't count as Dunn's shoulders aren't fully down on the mat. And then D'Angelo goes to the outside to get the crowbar he used at War Games. Vic Joseph was very adamant to us that it was the same crowbar as the one at War Games. And then goes to use it against Dunn, but Dunn takes him down with the hand. And then he's going for the finger snap, but D'Angelo puts his hand in his mouth, fish hooking him, and tries to get the mouth guard out of Dunn's mouth again. but sends him face first into the turnbuckle. Goes for the fisherman neck breaker, but Dunn catches him with the finger snap. Break your fingers, followed by the bitter end. 1, 2, 3. Pete Dunne defeats Tony D'Angelo. And then after the match, D'Angelo comes up from behind to attack Dunn, but Dunn senses it and attacks him. They start brawling on the outside, and D'Angelo hits his fisherman neckbreaker on the floor and then smashes Dunn's hand with the crowbar as NXT goes off the air. What did you make of this, Jesse?
Yeah, it's a pretty good match. Nothing particularly special, but yeah, Tony D'Angelo. Interesting what's going on here. He's got the collegiate wrestling background, and he displays some of that, but it seems pretty incongruous with his character. Like, why is this Italian mobster doing beautiful Northern Light suplexes?
He did bring it up in his vignettes a while ago that, I don't know, he wrestled for his family and it's all about family, but he's got other bits of business on the side, you know.
His wrestling background is part of his character, so it's, you know, they talk about it, and I guess time will tell if this is dumb or if it's genius, because you know, Chad Gable is Olympic level wrestler. He's absolutely amazing, and he's a great professional wrestler, but that's not enough for Vince McMahon, right? He's got to have him do goofy ass shit with Otis or whatever. Although listening to John Way, apparently had a good straightforward match yesterday. But clearly, the way that the WWE presents wrestling, being a good technical wrestler is not a character. That's not enough for you, right? So maybe, I guess the best case scenario for Tony D'Angelo is kind of like the John Cena rap character. Something that gets you noticed, because the fans are clearly into him still. They're doing the Italian hand thing. They think it's funny. They like him. So maybe it was smart. Give him this cartoonish gimmick to get people paying attention to him, and then let him get his reps while he's doing this heavy character work. And then maybe once the character seems lame or not as interesting anymore, maybe by that point his wrestling be strong enough to carry him. Could be. We'll see. Obviously, Pete Dunne's excellent, so it's tough to say how much was D'Angelo and how much was Dunne carrying him. The attack after the match, like it didn't annoy me like the Von Wagner thing did, because it does serve a purpose for telling the story. It's not my favorite way of telling stories, but it's a WWE storytelling device, and you know where it's going, and it's fine. They'll have another match, and Tony D'Angelo will probably win that one, and then we'll see where it goes. But it was a decent match, you know, no complaints.
Yeah, I thought I've definitely been lower on D'Angelo than other people, and haven't really seen it from him in the ring. This is by far his best match we've seen so far, and obviously he's against one of the best people in NXT and Pete Dunne. But I thought a lot of his stuff looked really nice here. I thought all of his suplexes looked really good, actually, and I think the Siino comparison is actually quite a good thing, where this is developmental, and sometimes you see that when I trained as an actor, you throw something at someone to maybe take them out of their comfort zone. To, if you're maybe more of a serious person, you give more of a comedic character to try and get something out of you. And the thing is, we're watching this developmental as a TV show. So I think down the line, if you can make this cartoon character seem a bit more of a real person, it could really work out, because I do think his wrestling is there, and he's still kind of new to this, so it's hopefully only going to get better. But D'Angelo actually impressed me today, and he's proven he can talk, and it is cartoonish, but he does have something, I think. And I'm all for another match down the line with Pete Dunne, and maybe throw a stipulation, crowbar on a pole match. I don't know. But do something a little different for the next one, no DQ or whatever, to see how he fares in that. But D'Angelo impressed me this week. Overall, I would say this was definitely one of the better episodes of NXT 2.0 for me. I thought I really enjoyed the first half hour with Ciampa and Bron, and the Raquel Dakota match. The middle fell a little flat for me, and then I thought it picked up with this main event. But I thought it was a much better pace show than usual. I really appreciated that we didn't have any Lash Legend. We didn't have any Briggs and Jensen and Casey Catanzaro at the country concert. We didn't have as much goofiness as usual, and I really appreciated that. I felt everything this week kind of served more of a purpose, and we see a direction. We've got New Year's Evil we're heading up to, and I think wrestling, you need direction. Otherwise, it's just all these cartoon characters just playing about on a Tuesday, and it's kind of weird. But I was a lot higher on this week's show. Jesse, kind of overall thoughts for you?
Yeah, I'm almost a little disappointed. I thought, I tune in, I get to see Jiro's bulimic Christmas dinner, some awful, horrible segment that I could rant about. But nothing really. It was a fine show. I liked it more than I thought I would. Positives. The main goal of this show was to get me to watch New Year's Evil, which it's still a weird name because after New Year's. And even though I'm sure we won't get any match nearly as good as O'Reilly Balor from last year, right? Those times are gone. Yeah, I think it'll be a good show, and I will watch it. So, job done. They've driven me to watch this big show, so they succeeded there. And of the new crop of the 2.0 wrestlers, the prominent ones, I gotta say, only Von Wagner disappoints me. The rest of them, I see it all. I see potential. And while I can quibble with the way it's been done or how quickly they've been pushed, I understand why these guys had the focus, and they're good in their roles. Von Wagner aside, who I didn't see anything there in this episode. Overall, though, I still have to say, and this is more of a WWE issue than an NXT 2.0 issue. It's just every other week, 10 people get cut from this company with seemingly no rhyme or reason. They're pushed one week and then they disappear. They don't produce they don't tell stories ways that I find engaging. And when they give their wrestlers time, they can have great matches because they have great wrestlers on the roster. But more often than not, the whole production, the way they display the wrestling, and just their complete lack of any long-term plans for anyone besides maybe Roman Reigns, it's hard for me to get excited about any of this, So this show did not suck. This was a decent show. I don't regret watching it, but there's nothing here to make me want to sit down every week and watch it. I don't know who that's for. I mean, if you love the WWE style and you want to see how WWE stars are made, then maybe this is for you. But I don't really see the point of it. And it's that these 2 hours did nothing wrong. They did their job. Overall, it's hard for me to engage with the product given everything else that's going on. And actually, it's kind of a backhanded compliment, but do you know who directs the show? It's not Kevin Dunn, is it?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. But
so, what was it? Survivor Series was, I guess, the last WWE main roster I watched, and It had been months since I watched anything. And honestly, it was difficult for me to watch. The camera cuts. Every time someone gets punched, there's a camera cut. It gave me a headache. And I don't know if it got worse or if I was used to it when I was watching WWE regularly before. But I thought, how do people watch this? And John wouldn't ever talk about it. So I guess you get
got
used
really
to it.
Bad. Yeah.
And I was expecting that tonight on NXT, and that was not a problem on NXT. There was not that horrible, obnoxious direction, the camera cuts and the zooms and all that. And the bad NXT acting was to a minimum. There wasn't the what David Bixenspan on Twitter calls NXT face, the shock, which actually Ruby Riott is probably the worst example of in recent memory. But I hate that contrived shock. There wasn't much of that. The production was not annoying at all. It was a decent program. I enjoyed most of it. But to people wondering if they should watch or not, I don't really know what to tell you. I guess if you watch WWE, then sure, watch it, because I don't see the differences between Raw. I just don't know where any of this is going.
No, I think that's the issue. Is I think a few years ago we had optimism. You look at the Sami Zayn run in NXT, which is around the time Daniel Bryan was having his run in WWE, and you go, oh, Sami Zayn could have this ultimate underdog babyface story in the main roster. And whereas I don't know if any of these people, like, I see ever, I don't care who main events at WrestleMania anymore. Do you know what I mean? I don't root for these people. The luster of a WrestleMania main event has completely died off for me, because the main roster has been so formulaic and paint by numbers for such a long time that I'm not invested in anyone. So the days where you'd look at a Sami Zayn, a Finn Balor, a Johnny Gargano, and you see them have these kind of epic runs in NXT, and you go, and you could take that and you can slot that in there. I don't see it at all. And sure, I can see a Bron Breakker in WWE, but it's what, you're going to just be in the system for 5 to 10 years and then maybe break through. Like Big E has just become champion. He was NXT champion in 2013, and they could have pulled the trigger on this guy a long time ago. And it's the whole company seems so stale to me. Where NXT, I think there is, and I think even with this crazy 2.0 thing, there is an interest in seeing where these people start off. And I get a lot of pleasure out of watching what's next, where the wrestling isn't necessarily great all the time, but it's kind of cool seeing the little seeds of a character, and you see where it goes in the main roster or whatever. Whereas now it's just, well, they're not going to use that, because you're going to grow them and then you're going to change their name, repackage them, give them a whole different character on the main roster to just maybe get fired in a month. So yeah. I think that's where so much of it is. I'm like you. I'm totally, this is the lowest I've been on WWE for a long time. But yeah, this was definitely one of the better NXT 2.0s. Well, that's enough from what we thought this week, but let's see what you guys thought. We do put up feedback every week on the upNXT Facebook group and the Post Wrestling Forum if you're a member of there as well. And we'll start off with Sean, who says that he thought tonight was a decent show. Started off with a bang, with Bron and Ciampa having a great face-off, Ciampa delivering a solid promo, and Bron was badass without having to say much at all. Thought the street fight between Dakota and Raquel was awesome. Liked that it started in the back and that the ladies didn't wear their ring gear and that they really beat the crap out of each other. Just good stuff all the way through. The post-match segment setting up the triple threat at New Year's Evil was okay. Cora needs more mic work for sure, but I think the triple threat match would be good and likely Raquel's last in NXT. Rest of the show had a theme of okay stuff, setting up potentially great stuff. AJ being at the PC was awesome, but I thought his face-off with Waller was just okay. I think they can put on a good match, but I hope they can pick it up and get us more invested. I'd be happy if Trick Williams disappeared from my TV forever, but strong and mellow title v title will be great. MSK Riddle's segment was underwhelming, but MSK versus Imperium 2 will be a banger, I'm sure. Didn't like Io giving up so much offense to Elektra or needing a distraction to win, but at least she's in the win column. There was some really good action in the main event. Tony D has some chops in the ring, but he's just too much of a caricature for me to get into. Shout out to the Brian Kendrick for climbing back in the ring to get Haaland over. Anyway, while tonight was just decent, New Year's Evil is looking stacked, so there is something to look forward to. And Jesse, I assume you don't have the feedback up. Shall I just continue?
Yeah, so I don't have Facebook,
that's okay.
So I can't.
Evil Corporation, I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We go to Dylan, who says, Ciampa getting completely punked out by Breakker was an interesting choice, but I'm not sure if it was a bad one. It has me very excited for their match. Street fight was good fun, but I have no idea where Dakota goes from here. Cora Jade sounds every bit as young as she is. The triple threat should cover up any greenness she has. And I know that Mandy's gimmick is that she flaunts her looks, but if my girlfriend had walked in while that promo was on, I feel like I would have had to explain what I was watching. Gacy's apology wasn't an apology at all, which fits the character nicely. Kendrick wanting a match with Haaland is fun. Hope his family enjoys their last Christmas with him. Tag match was an overbooked mess. Just let one of those teams get a clean win to progress the story. Damn. Lumis trick was fine for what it was. I like how it progressed mellow. Title unification should be a good one. Grayson Waller is an excellent heel. AJ Styles is phenomenal as usual. Not sure how I feel about them two feuding though. Whoever wrote that MSK segment was on something stronger than weed. Wagner losing to Enofe is dumb, but pairing him up with a manager is smart. Do need someone else to do the talking for him. Lopez lost because Zion Quinn is too handsome. Sure. Main event was solid. Tony D proved he can put on a good match. I feel like a lot of this week's matches were for storylines in holding patterns. The other segments like Gacy, Haaland, Kendrick, Mandy, Cora, Raquel, Hayes Strong, and MSK Riddle were the only things that actually progressed any stories forward. I mean, that's a fair amount of matches moving forward you mentioned there. It feels like New Year's Evil is 1 week too far away. That being said, it looks like an excellent show. Shame that I'll miss it due to school obligations. Happy holidays. Well, there's VCRs and stuff. And finally, we go to Charbel, who says, watermelon emoji, Mandy Rose. Yeah, Charbel, we miss you.
I thought he was referencing Jiro's jacket. Boy, did I?
Let's keep it as that. Yeah, Jiro's jacket and Mandy Rose.
Did I forget who was writing that feedback? Of course, Charbel.
Well, there you have it.
7 children.
He's going to go and listen to Be Our Guest now, I think, and have some fun. Inside joke right there. But that brings us to an end for this week. We will be back. I'll be joined by John Siino tomorrow for BD Elite as we talk all about AEW Dynamite. And I'll be back with John Siino on Thursday for the Big Fat Wrestling Quiz of the Year. And then all the other
Tune in to find out if Davie and John Siino can coexist.
Can we coexist? Let's not have any falling outs on BD Elite tomorrow because we've got a big match coming up. But yeah, so much coming up on the Patreon. Check out all the socials. We'll keep you updated with what's going on. Give us, go on, throw us a $5. Go and subscribe, patreon.com/upNXT. So much there in the back catalogs to keep you busy over these holidays. But that brings us to an end tonight. Jesse, any final words, anything you'd like to plug? Where can we find you?
No, I'm good.
You're good. Awesome. Well, I'm good too. Take care, guys. Be safe and happy holidays. Ahoy!